Wow, man. Wow. Wow. That was just wow. This is why Mewtwo is an absolute disgrace. This is why Mewtwo is an absolute disgrace. Like, that was foul. That was foul. They had nothing, man. And then not too long after that, this game happened. Now, this is honestly stupid because there are players on the other team that, in my opinion, they're better than I am. Okay, yet I'm on a team where we are winning to 0 in Pokemon Unite, to 0. Right? It's not okay. And the reason why it's not okay is because our team had 2 really, really good players from the Australian community on Mewtwo and on Zacian in the same team. Now, this is an issue that must be addressed by the developers ASAP. Something has to be done, okay? Because this is just, it's out of control, right? My team is not winning this game because we're better players technically at the game. We are winning this game because our Pokemon on our team are way more overpowered than the other team's Pokemon. Right, now I've picked Espeon because I like Espeon, and my duo queue partner has picked Slowbro because they like Slowbro and we like getting a lead early. Right, and they're kind of 2 pretty decent Pokemon against the Zacian and the Mewtwo meta right now, especially in lane together, because you're not going to get dumpstered so hard. Now this kind of leads me into the theme of this video, which is how are we supposed to verse these Pokemon in Unite? Because right now, Mewtwo and Zacian are killing the meta. They are absolutely killing the meta. There are certain Pokemon that you cannot pick because they're just not good enough. They're just not up to par. Okay, so we can lead and complain and talk about how Mewtwo and Zacian are broken and how something needs to be done, and honestly I have high hopes that something will be done about it. Okay, the data's been released. There's a website called Unite API where you've got some access to data on Pokemon's win and pick rate for the week, and Mewtwo currently has got a win rate of like 56-57%, and it's got a pick rate of, you know, about the same, right? Which is wild because a lot of people have paid to get Mewtwo, which is awesome, right? You know, that's great for, you know, the people who have been able to pick that Pokemon and play that Pokemon. But I think it's pretty evident that it's more overpowered. But what I'd like to see the data on, and this is what we don't have access to, but I'm sure the developers have got some access to filter the data in some sense, where if you've got Mewtwo and Zacian on the same team with a supporter, so you've got those class of 3, man, you are winning way more games than your opponents, right? Way more games. Okay, and that is my particular issue. Okay, Mewtwo, on its own, Mewtwo's manageable, and we're going to talk through Mewtwo. Okay, we're going to talk through Mewtwo's weaknesses, how we can verse it, the good matchups, and all that kind of stuff, which, honestly, I wanted to do this on release, but I wasn't going to give it a fair crack. I needed to spend a lot of time getting into the game and using different Pokemon and different combinations, right? So that's thing number 1, is we're going to figure out how to verse Mewtwo. But thing number 2, and I just want to make this loud and clear, and I want as many people to make this as loud and clear as they can, is that I like the concept of Pokemon Unite where we're using legendaries as the leader of the team. A lot of people don't like that, but I am open to the experiment of, you know, a new concept in this class of game. That's not my issue. My issue is the fact that you can use multiple legendaries in the same team. If they're supposed to be the team leader and you can have 3 leaders in the team, that's not fair. If you've got Hoopa and Mewtwo and Zacian in the same team, like, it's a joke, right? It's like, how are you supposed to win against it? Like, it's almost impossible, right? Versing Mewtwo is hard enough, but then the supporter can jump onto the next raid boss. It's honestly, it's almost unbeatable. It's honestly ridiculous. Okay, let's talk about Mewtwo and its strengths and weaknesses. Let's talk about the strengths first. Mewtwo has a very, very strong early game, and if you take Mewtwo into the jungle, he will be extremely valuable at a gank for those early Bs. So keep that in mind, right? Another thing it's really good at is brawling. It's got great reach on you, and it is broken in its Mega Evolution. So keep that in mind. Those are the strengths. So what does that mean for you and how you want to play against Mewtwo? Well, first thing is, don't die early at the gank, right? He will steamroll you. If you're the enemy jungler and your laners die, don't go in there and try and defend the goal zone, because he'll kill you and then he'll take your jungle and he will destroy your hopes and dreams, right? So play passive early, okay? Just play on the pad. Don't die. Don't let him take everything, okay? It's best, honestly, if their team's in the position to get the bees or the birds, just let them take them and defend the goal zone, okay? Also understand the reach that Mewtwo has. If he's sitting in the bush, you cannot be standing on the edge of your goal zone. He'll pull you in with that future sight, right? So just be very, very careful of that. That's if he's the future sight moveset. And when you see the Mewtwo Mega, don't fight a Mega Mewtwo. Unless you've got the numbers, like you're in a 3v2 or a 4v2 and you've got the CC, stop fighting a Mega Mewtwo. You're going to lose. And you're going to be like, what? He's so broken. He just took down a 3v2 and we didn't have Unite or whatever, right? Mega Mewtwo is 2 Pokemon, not 1, okay? Don't fight it unless if you have the resources to get the kill. Now, those are the strengths of Mewtwo. Mewtwo also has weaknesses, okay? In my opinion, it has a weakness of securing an objective, mobility, and also it's pretty weak to long distance crowd control, like Alola Ninetales, for example. However, one thing Mewtwo has in his toolkit to help against that is Psy Strike. One of his skills makes him unstoppable. When a Pokemon's unstoppable, they cannot be stunned. They can't be slowed down, right? They're unstoppable. Now, that's honestly a not fun mechanic about Mewtwo, but this move has a long cooldown. So just make sure when you see it use Psy Strike, then you can engage, because you're going to be able to get the CC onto the Mewtwo, okay? You need to leverage this weakness. Slow Mewtwo down, or force it into a particular position for a burst. Okay, typically, Mean Look and Slowbro Unite are really amazing at doing this, and the sort of burst you're looking for is Power Punch Close Combat from Lucario, you want Solar Beam from a Venusaur, you want Future Sight from a Gardevoir. There's a whole bunch of burst damage, right? You can even think of like Machamp Cross Chop. You need to lock it into position and just rip it down, because typically Mewtwo will have a supporter on him. Now, just think mathematically about it for a moment. If you are doing slow burn damage to Mewtwo, the healer has more time to heal the Mewtwo. If you do lots of damage very, very quickly, so we call that burst damage, the healer will not be able to heal enough to keep Mewtwo alive. So you want to lock Mewtwo into a particular spot and then burst the Pokemon down. Now this feels really, really, really annoying that you have to kind of build a team to take on Mewtwo, but at the current state, you can actually do this in your duo queue. So for example, you could have a Mean Look Umbreon and a Future Sight Gardevoir. You could have a Slowbro, and you could also have an Espeon, right? That's doing some distance poke damage. Okay, so you can do this in your duo queues. Okay, so with all that being said, I'm going to jump into a tier list and I'm going to talk through every single Pokemon and how they can address Mewtwo's strengths and weaknesses and label them from S tier against Mewtwo, which will probably be nothing, down to D tier, which is like literally don't even bother. So that's it there. That is the tier list for the matchups going into Mewtwo. So for example, Gengar, I don't know. I haven't tried it. I don't think I've even seen a Mewtwo interact with a Gengar yet, right? So for these Pokemon I'm throwing in the I don't know, put your thoughts in the comment, right? Because obviously I'm learning a lot from you guys who give me a insightful comment about something that I say I'm not sure about, and others who read it will get some value out of it. So feel free to chime in there. Talonflame, honestly, Talonflame's just terrible. Talonflame is not the one. Talonflame will go and fly or Brave Bird. He'll do some burst damage. They'll heal up and then they'll kill you, right? 2A presses. So honestly, in my opinion, not the best. Dodrio's got a good matchup. Okay, and this is really counterintuitive to me because Dodrio has the ability to CC with that Drill Peck. He's really hard to hit. Like if you're using Mewtwo, it's really hard to hit that Future Sight. So Dodrio's got great mobility, and that's one of the weaknesses of Mewtwo. But Dodrio's also got great CC and great burst damage too. So really, really, honestly, like this surprised me, but Dodrio has actually got a good matchup against Mewtwo. Zeraora is not a good matchup, but he's pretty useful. He's got a lot of frames of being untargetable if you're going Spark Wild Charge, and also the Volt Switch just to get out of a bad situation is pretty good. Leafeon, honestly, you're helpful in a kill, but like you can't go near the Mewtwo until the Mewtwo has been engaged on and has been CC'd. So you know what? You're kind of helpful. Just because you need like your team to really help you there, but you've got great burst damage. But you need to engage properly with Leafeon. So I'm not saying like it's terrible or anything. I'm saying if your team doesn't engage well on the Mewtwo, you are really not going to be able to do much at all. Honestly, same as Scyther. Scyther, just kind of helpful. Okay, you really need your team to be doing a lot of work for you there. I dare I say Absol and saddens me Zoroark are just not great. You're going to be using your skills to escape quite a bit because if you engage at the wrong time, which generally it's the wrong time against Mewtwo, he'll just A-press you twice and you're dead. Onto our attackers. Delphox is a phenomenal matchup. Okay, Delphox has a Unite move that gives anti-healing, so it reduces the healing and recovery effects, which is great because Mewtwo's always paired with a healer, right? That's the meta we're in right now. So Delphox Unite move is really rapid, really frequent. He's got good range. He's got good CC. He can poke bushes really well. Delphox honestly is actually one of the better matchups against Mewtwo. Venusaur, I think you're helpful to kill, but you've got to be careful. If the Mewtwo wants to kill you, he will kill you. That Solar Beam is great at burst damage though, and it's great at poking that Mewtwo and forcing him to kind of kite back a little bit. It's a good matchup, particularly Stored Power, just because Stored Power leverages on that mobility and a little bit of CC. When you use Stored Power and you hit the enemy, you get a speed increase, and also when you're hitting that particular enemy, they have their movement speed slowed down. So Espeon, honestly, in my opinion, good matchup. Mew is just a good matchup to everything. Learn how to play it, become better at it. This Pokemon is like literally infinite skill cap. So Dragapult, I don't know. I'm honestly, in my head, I'm picturing Dragapult's actually kind of annoying for a Mewtwo to verse because it's really hard to hit him with that Future Sight. However, Psystrike might just shut him down completely. Not entirely sure. Chandelure, I don't know. I don't play Chandelure that much, and I'm not even going to pretend to explain like I know it. Pikachu is honestly pretty. I'm going to say kind of helpful, but you can't use Volt Switch. If you go on with Volt Switch, and like the Mewtwo gets an unstoppable frame, like if it uses Psystrike and then you go on Volt Tackle. Yeah, you go in and like he'll just attack you while you're diving over the top of him, and then you're dead before you can even return. So you got to be super careful with Pikachu. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say there. It's just helpful, but I think you've got to be ranged and you've got to know if you're using Surf, you've got to know when you can go in with Surf or go in with that Unite move. I think Smokescreen's still a little bit uh, bad just because there's too many skills in the game, and I know Chris Hero's made a video about this. There's too many skills in the game that just follow you, right? Liquidation, Icy Wind, Psy Strike. There's too many skills that lock onto you and just keep attacking you, even when you smoke screen away. So, again, high skill cap, but unfortunately, with some of the newer mechanics in this game, Greninja is maybe even just kind of helpful. Gardevoir is a phenomenal matchup. A phenomenal matchup. Okay, and this is honestly like I've been using a lot of Gardevoir and I'm having a lot of great success. Probably one of the best matchups against Mewtwo. Only issue is that you must use this Pokemon in the jungle. There's no ifs or buts. If you got a lane with the Rolts, you are going to get absolutely dumpstered. Sylveon, I think you're kind of helpful. You can debuff that special defense with that Hyper Voice. I probably wouldn't go Mystical Fire, just because by the time you do that damage onto the Mewtwo, it's going to heal it up. However, it's really good mobility against Mewtwo. So, I think Sylveon's definitely B tier. Inteleon is honestly, if you play it, if you play Inteleon well, he's borderline a good matchup here. But I'm going to put him in your kind of helpful to kill him, just because you can scout him out and you can do a lot of great burst damage with that Unite move, or if you use Snipe Shot, or even if you line up those crits properly with the Liquidation and then finishing them off with some basics. So I think you're definitely very helpful there. Glaceon, I'd say, is kind of meh in my opinion. Duraludon, I think is just honestly, I just think Duraludon's not great. It's dropping off even more since the nerf to the wilds. He's too static, too low mobility. Mewtwo will just jump on you and kill you. Decidueye, honestly, I hate that Decidueye is not better against Mewtwo, but it's just honestly, it's just not good enough, unfortunately. Unfortunately, the fact that Mewtwo has got the amount of support that it does makes it really challenging. Cramorant, I think it's you know what, Cramorant, I'm not even going to pretend. I don't know. I haven't tried out Cramorant. I haven't even seen people use Cramorant. In my head, I think the Unite move is pretty good zoning, but it's similar to a Duraludon in that sense. You probably have to cancel it early because Mewtwo will just teleport through it and then click A twice and then you're dead. Right, so I don't know. Someone else chime in there. And Cinderace, I think it's pretty similar to Greninja in this sense here. So I'm going to put him right next to the Greninja. Let's move on to all-arounders. Water Urshifu, I think, is decent. I think he's mid. I think he can do some work. He's a decent brawler, but ultimately, Mewtwo is going to be the better brawler there. Dark Urshifu, I'm gonna put next to him there. I think that burst damage is really, really solid, but you've got to have your team to kind of do quite a bit of the work for you there. Azumarill, I think you're helpful to kill, and Azumarill's an interesting one because I need to trial this out a little bit, and someone can chime in here. And I think uh, Azumarill with that play rough, you've got a lot of untargetable frames. This could be really handy. The only issue is that they've generally got a supporter on top of them, so you're not going to be getting the value out of the crit. So I think could be helpful, but I'll probably put them in kind of helpful. Machamp, I am not 100% sold on Machamp. I'm just going to put him in C tier. I know I know, but I don't know enough. Yeah, I don't think he's that great. Charizard's a good matchup. Charizard, and this is purely the Fire Blast Flamethrower set. You've got range, you've got poke, you've got CC on him, you've got mobility. I think Charizard is an amazing matchup. Again, you need the jungle. If you go to lane as a Charizard and the Mewtwo comes up there, you're literally just a piece of farm for that Mewtwo. Aegislash is kind of helpful. Aegislash, unfortunately, is too weak early. And this sucks because I love Aegislash. Such a fun Pokemon to use. But yeah, that Mewtwo, one of his best strengths is being strong early. And if you can't get online early, he will just destroy you. So if he ganks your lane and you don't have the support, he'll just take all the farm. And like, there's not a whole lot you can do. So I'm gonna say he's kind of helpful, but he's definitely not the worst. Lucario's B tier against Mewtwo. Power Up Punch is great burst damage. You've got good mobility. You've got good unstoppable frames as well if he tries to get you with that Future Sight. I think he's really strong as well as the Unite move. Really, really good. He's also got the ability to out-secure the Mewtwo as well with that Unite move and the Power Punch. So definitely a pretty good pick, but not honestly, like not a good matchup. Zacian is a good matchup. Okay, Zacian and Mewtwo are a good matchup against Mewtwo, right? Because they're legendary Pokemon, they're pretty broken, and they can do some work while, being supported. Sizzle, in my opinion, is kind of helpful. He's too brawlery. He doesn't do enough burst damage. He will sustain, but you will slowly lose the fight. Garchomp, honestly, I'm going to put in the same boat there. It's pretty similar reasoning. He doesn't do enough burst damage, and you're going to slowly lose the fight against the supported Mewtwo. Tyranitar, honestly, I'm going to put Tyranitar in D tier simply because online too late. Like, even at level 8 as a Pupitar, you were still pathetic. And if you're level 8 and you're behind, that Mewtwo's level 10. And that Mewtwo is destroying you. He's living in your jungle. So I just think I generally I would avoid Tyranitar at the moment. Serena, just not good. Buzzwole, honestly, meh with Buzzwole. Okay, Buzzwole, just because Psy Strike Unstoppable means that you can't use your skills on that Mewtwo for like 3 seconds, 2 seconds, whatever it is. That's a long time. So you have to, yeah, you have to use your skills. If he picks a Psy Strike moveset, you're really not doing, you're not a whole lot of help until he's exhausted his skills. Dragonite, and I'm only going off word of mouth here. Apparently, Dragonite Outrage is really good, but I've never seen an interaction, so I'm going to put him in I don't know, but I'm going to keep him up here for A tier. Defenders, let's talk about our defenders. Now, this is in the sense of supporting your attackers, being able to burst that Mewtwo down. Honestly, Goodra, you're pretty helpful. That GUI is nice because you're able to slow down. You've got great sustain. I think Goodra is a pretty solid pick. Honestly, Greedent is pathetic. Greedent's not going to do much. There's not much CC. Even if you go into his jungle early, he will probably just kill you because it's a Mewtwo. And you're a pathetic level 1 Squavit. So I probably wouldn't be picking Greedent. Lapras, and I'm going off Ender's video here. Lapras is a good matchup. Perisong, I think it can do some work. Got some pretty good CC there as well. Mamoswine, honestly, is actually pretty good. The CC from Mamoswine is amazing, but you need to have that follow-up damage. Blastoise, honestly, Blastoise is pretty, like, medium, in my opinion. Slowbro is probably the only Pokemon that would fit into S tier, just because typically they've got that supporter, you click their Unite move, and you do a whole bunch of work there. Snorlax, honestly, Snorlax yawns pretty good. You're helpful when you're putting Mewtwo to sleep, and then you burst him down from there. Trevenant, honestly, Trevenant's pretty, he's like similar to Blastoise, just pretty mid. Umbreon, mean look, wish Umbreon, amazing. You lock that Mewtwo into place, he can't teleport away, and you can burst that Pokemon down. Their team has to overcommit to try and save. It puts your team in a phenomenal position at the team fight. I personally think we're going to see a lot of Umbreon mean look at Worlds too, but I could be wrong. Crustle, honestly, Crustle, not too great. You put up a Rock Tomb, he just teleports over it, and if you engage with that X-Scissor, and you don't time it too well, he's got those unstoppable frames. So I think a well-played Mewtwo can avoid any shenanigans from a Crustle. Lastly, our supporters. Sableye, honestly, Sableye is helpful, but this is with communication. You guys know my thoughts on Sableye. Solo queue Sableye is the bane of my existence, but if you are in a coordinated trio and you're using Sableye, he can actually be pretty valuable at CCing and getting vision on that Mewtwo. Eldegoss is, I'm going to say, like, it's helpful, but it's probably not the best matchup. You can A-press him. Oh, no, he's honestly pretty good, though. I'm going to put him in, no, I'm going to put him in B tier. I'm going to put him in B tier. But he is honestly pretty good in my opinion. Wigglytuff, honestly, is just bad. You think you can engage with that Sing, but all the Mewtwo has to do is click Psy Strike on one of those 3 notes, and he just avoids getting put to sleep. I just wouldn't be using that Pokemon. Comfey, unless if you're attached to Zacian or Mewtwo, I just think Comfey is honestly not going to be that helpful. Hoop is really good. Hoop is a great answer against Mewtwo. You can push it back with that Phantom Force. You can heal your team with well-placed portals, and you can use your Unite move to poke and push that Mewtwo or lock him into place while your team CCs. Hooper will always be up there as one of the best. Clefable, honestly, is pretty decent. He's definitely not a good matchup, but he's pretty decent. I would say the same thing for Blissey and Mr. Mime. I would not say Mr. Mime is the worst, but I definitely think he's not as useful as he could be. So that's it there. That is the tier list for the matchups going into Mewtwo. There's nothing in that S tier, and there are a couple of Pokemon in that last tier, which is, I don't know, I haven't played them, I haven't even seen them interact, so feel free to add your thoughts.